Good evening. Would you all stand with me for the invocation and pledge of allegiance, please?
Master in heaven, Lord, as we gather this evening, have a lot to be thankful for, but we also come as people. We need your wisdom, we need your guidance, we need your love. We need you to continue to show us how to treat each other, how to serve our city well. I ask that you show us your favor on this meeting tonight, give us safety, to do your business best way possible. We love you, ask this in Jesus' name.
Councilperson Williams, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for August the 22nd, 2024. Let the record reflect that we have two council persons off this evening, and we do have a quorum, so we will proceed. The first item that we have on our agenda this evening is our public forum. And before we start this evening, I have something I'd like to show you all. If you are here at our last council meeting, there was a gentleman named Michael Donald that got up and spoke about this particular item right here. He asked that we move the walkway back because you could not see around the building. We had no idea that that situation existed, and so I am very grateful for him for taking the time. He was very well prepared. He had drawings and pictures and everything, and so we gave those papers to Mr. Metz. Mr. Metz reached out to the Department of Highways, and they moved the walkway. That walkway was in effect before school started today. And so I'd like to say thank you publicly to Mr. Donald, and to encourage each and every one of you that like to get up and make comments and what have you. You know, these things right here are fantastic, because not only did it make our children safer, but it brought a light to us that corner of that building is a little difficult to see around. And so, Mr. Donald, thank you very much for that. And Craig, thank you for your work with the Department of Highways. That's a nice project, isn't it?
It is. Also, how about the ramps?
No, I didn't know you. Please, go ahead.
When I met State out there, there obviously are going to get to place all the handicap ramps in that area and extend that sidewalk down through over towards Jackson football field. So we'll get new ramps, new handicap ramps. So that area should be really nice here come springtime.
And every bit of that was because Mr. Donald took the time to come down here, and you know, that was great. The other thing thank you, Russ, you can bring that back. The other thing that I would like to mention is a thank you to Mrs. Elam. Mrs. Elam brought to my attention that one of the light posts that had been placed down on Grand Central Avenue was right in front of the doorway for one of our local businesses. And so I spoke with the owner of the business, and she had some concerns because it was blocking the entryway to her business. She was great about it, though, because she thought, well, if they leave it here, I'm going to name a drink after it, and they'll, call it the lamp post or whatever. But at any rate, I made some phone calls to the state in Charleston, and as you can all tell, the lights are installed today, and they look really great, and they moved it. It's now in between the two buildings that are there. And so, Mrs. Elam, thank you for reaching out. The things we can fix, we fix. So anyway, with that, first person to sign up this evening for public forum is Brenda Powell.
Good evening. My name is Brenda Powell, and I live on 31st Street, Vienna.
I just wanted to share a few things with council. I'm a visionary, and I'd like to share some thoughts, if I could. We realize that, or some do, we have three main revenues coming into the city, and we haven't had economic development transpiring. We need that, and we haven't had it. But it's time, I think, that the city should create an income and revenue to obtain some security, possibly, because of maybe one of the other revenues not work out. My thoughts are with the John Mansfield property. That hasn't been discussed too much anymore, quite for some time, I guess. And I've asked about the certificate of completion on that piece of property with Councilman Leach after one of the meetings. And he had stated that it is the bureaucracy is the reason. And I need to say why. Would the state or organizations, the hierarchy, keeping the property from being developed and keeping council at bay and not being able then to make decisions. We've got over $2 million invested in that property already, and it's important that we do something with it that's going to benefit our community financially. Many living in the area probably would not want to have actually production, manufacturing, or whatever in that. I don't figure that they would want it. I don't know, but I know I wouldn't if I lived there. I have a suggestion. And the suggestion is, why can't that piece of property be created into something, because it has such a spectacular view of the river, Spencer's Landing. Why doesn't the city consider possibly developing it themselves and putting in maybe a restaurant that overlooks, like the Point of View did for the river, or and maybe even put in some different stores around the area for people to shop. Something that could be, if you're still, there was thoughts that there was something said about Miniville being a possibility the city would want to purchase it. I don't know whether that would be for parking or whatever. My question is, or not question, but my thought was, why not do away with the parking lot on Spencer's Landing so it could be used? And if you don't want to do those kind of things, why not put, if nothing else, a parking garage on that property? And people can pay to park there for whatever's going on with Spencer's Landing or whatever, and provide that, as for parking. That's what I have for this evening on that. But I do have some things I'd like to share that the city, like, for instance, I don't know whether or not we can see it very well on my phone, but we've talked about the amphitheater. I don't know which way this needs to go. The amphitheater, I think it goes this way. Here we go. That's down at Point Park. Look how simple that is. Just to have something up to where that they can actually, people could come in and perform or do whatever. We don't have to go to a great big expense, down there for an amphitheater. This suffices. They have many things down there regarding it. The other thing I'd like to share is a photograph of, and I don't know whether you've heard of it or not, it's called Macaroni Kid. And it's nationwide. It's everywhere. But what found it so fascinating to me is it is family-based, and two of our parks were actually involved in this, mentioned, which was Spencer Park
and Jackson Park in their article. And I encourage people to look that up online. You can actually type in a zip code, and it will locate it that wherever it would be across the nation, in any city, state. And so I just want to encourage our community to search the net, because there's a lot of things in the articles and whatnot to where that the people that have children especially, it can be very beneficial to them. I also wanted to mention one more thing.
I'm sorry, you're out of time.
Well, can I tell you about the circus?
You're a minute over now.
Okay, I'm sorry, but there is a circus coming down the river on the 24th to Marietta and the 25th in Parkersburg for anybody that would want to go from 6 to 7:30. Thank you.
Ethel Harris.
Randy, I see you laughing. Please don't laugh at me tonight.
No, it's funny. She asked
It
for
is
extra
funny.
time.
Yes, you're
it's-
right.
And she got it in, so good for her.
Because this is no disrespect, but I've got some comments to make, and maybe you don't want to hear it, but you got to hear it. I'm freedom of speech tonight, and you guys don't really need to respond back to me because I know you know the answers, and you probably don't want to tell it. So what I'm going to say is, by the way, I'm Ethel Harris, huh?
Could you use the microphone?
Sure. So I'm Ethel Harris, 3400 River Road. So I would just like to use my freedom of speech tonight so I don't get thrown out. But this is for the residents of Vienna. You know, we have probably 13 or 14 people running for city council one way or another. But where are they? We may have 5 or 6 that shows up every 2 weeks. So how do they know what's going on? But yet they expect people to vote for them. Did they throw their hat in the ring just to split the votes? Or is it for the money? Because if it was for the money, maybe I'd have threw my hat in the ring too. But I don't think it's worth it. So I think that before the people, the city of Vienna people, goes out and votes, they need to check to see who is really interested and what their motives is of running for city council when they're not showing up to see whatever's going on. I bet we could be like Waters on TV and send someone out there and say, do you know what such and such is running for? Well, who are they? No, I never heard of them. So let's go. I just pray they don't just get in there and say, well, that name sounds familiar. But guess what? What are they running for? To split the vote? Or what's their motive? What do they want Vienna to do? And another thing is we do have 2 or 3 people that come in here. There again, no disrespect for you people. Praising you what a good job you're doing and how impressed you really are. There really are of what you've done. But what I can't understand, they're running for city council. So if they're so impressed with you all, why are they running? You're doing such a good job. We don't need them to come in and take your place if you're doing such a good job. So I feel like, and I know, like I said, you guys don't need to come back with any comments because I'm not interested and I have my own ideas of what's going on. But I would like the Vienna people to make sure that when they go to the polls and cast their ballots, that they know who they're voting for and what that person is running for, so that we can do what's right for the city and get things done. And like I said, the Vienna residents needs to really check these things out. And if they're running for office, the least they could do is make a showing to the council meeting to be met and not wait for the meet and greet. I just think it's a good idea, but then again, I'm 84. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I've probably forgot more than most of these people. So all I'm saying is, residents of Vienna, get out, check your candidates out, see what their motive is. Is it to split the votes to get someone else in, or is it to do a good job for Vienna? I rest my case. Thank you.
Tammy Rhodes.
I'm going to have to start getting here earlier so I can see where Ethel is on the agenda, so I don't have to keep following her. You are so entertaining. I'm Tammy Rhodes, and I live at 4604 6th Avenue, and I am running for council, and I'm running because I have been involved for 2.5 years, and because I do want to make a difference. On July 25th, Council passed a resolution to engage the Thrasher Group for Spencer's Landing for the Master Planning and Amphitheater project. This authorized the mayor or designee to execute any agreements or documentation necessary to engage the Thrasher Group. The agreement was to be signed and a $43,000 lump sum payment was to be made. The agreement then would become valid and binding. In the proposal in the agreement is a timeline. The 30 to 60-day deliverable includes the initial public meeting and survey results, the compilation of community and council input, and the presentation of initial programming. This is the second council meeting in now 28 days from that July 25th meeting. There has been no discussion further of this. It isn't on the agenda tonight, and I really did expect something would be on there. So where is the city in this process? Has the agreement been signed? If so, what date was it signed? Because that's when the timeline starts. There was already $50,000 budgeted in 41058 for Spencer's Landing, and in the current budget year, an additional $25,000 for Spencer's Landing engineering was added. Has that $43,000 lump sum payment been made? And if not, why? There have been no public meetings. I assume no meetings with council, no discussion or decisions about the development of the steering committee, and no online survey. The terms and conditions of the contract specifies non-payment and default options for the Thrasher Group. If the city defaults, the agreement could be nullified. Would the city care? We know that there were a few people in the city who wanted the 3,000 to 4,000 seat amphitheater and all the parking. I also believe that they did not want public input, the public input that the Thrasher Group would do, because if they did, they would have sought their own public input before coming up with the RFQ for the large amphitheater. And this is deja vu all over again. I've often asked myself, why is there never unfinished business on the agenda? And Tim Archer mentioned this recently as well, and I thought it really is time to address this. Not having unfinished business items on the agenda allows for the slow death of projects in this city, and that's happened many times. It happened with the 12th Street property. From August of 21, when a resolution was passed for the mayor to end the lease sale agreement with Vienna Aquaculture, there was not a discussion on the 12th Street contract. It wasn't until May when I and Brenda actually went to an open house event at Vienna Aquaculture. There were new surveys flags there, and it was obvious that survey had just been done. But anyway, I came to council public forum right now, like this, and brought out how the city was violating their own home rule ordinances. There wasn't any open discussion or follow-up during that whole process from August until May. It then happened on the FLAP grant recently in the kayak launch. In February 23, for example, the state asked for the same information that they asked for recently. The Burgess and Nyepel presentation was in July. There hasn't been an agenda item to discuss the kayak launch any further until the discussion last council meeting of the temporary kayak launch plan that failed. Had this been under unfinished business all along, I don't believe the delay would have happened. This non-communication creates a complete lack of transparency and accountability. Even when council members, Ms. Williams and Mr. Mancuso, try to follow up, they are frequently shut down. And I don't know why there seems to be such a value placed on transparency and accountability with the remaining council members.
Ms. Rhodes, I'm sorry, your time's up.
Thank you.
Rod Smith.
This one. Good evening. My name's Rod Smith. It's my wife, Teresa. We live at 5308 53rd Street in Vienna. And I'm speaking this evening on behalf of the Friends of Vienna. Maybe you've seen the Friends of Vienna's Facebook page where we put out a Save the Date teaser a couple weeks ago. The Friends of Vienna is sponsoring the first in this area, a hot air balloon festival called Glow on the O. This will be on Saturday, October 19th at Spencer's Landing. We will have 10 hot air balloons that will inflate and glow during the evening hours. It'll look something like that. This is a free event hosted by the Friends of Vienna, who want to say thank you for your support of the Freedom Festival we had last month. So bring your family down for some food truck goodies. There'll be inflatables there. We'll have a DJ that will be playing music through the afternoon and the evening. So you don't want to miss this first in the area free event, obviously, except for food purchases. More details will be announced as we get closer to the event. Thank you. And that right there is the tentative schedule we have. Begins at 3 o'clock. The balloons will be inflated and lit up around 6 p.m.
Can I ask a question?
I'm not finished. When you announce the event, we could put it out and invite for anyone that would like to be a local crew to help during the glow. And if we fly on Sunday morning, some pilots are asking that may be available, but there'll be a charge to that. And that's something you'll have to work out for the pilots.
We're
Okay,
looking
now I'm
forward to that,
finished.
Rod. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now you take it. Thanks, hon.
Tony Morrison. Tony, if I could stop you for just a second. You know, Ethel made a point a minute ago about people that are running. Tony Morrison's running for city council. Rod Smith, who just got up and spoke, is running for recorder. And so, you know, there you go.
Thanks. Tony Morrison, 1210 15th Street. Mayor, council, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. And it really is a blessing. You know, we're blessed to live in a nation and in a city where we have this opportunity. And the things that we say here in this room, they can make an impact. And I commend everyone who gets up in front of this microphone and the camera and this governing body to speak, because it's nerve-wracking. But if we're following our hearts and we believe what we're speaking is the truth and is best for the city, then it's worth it. That being said, there's been a lot of misinformation going around about the proposed kayak launch that was presented to council 4 weeks ago, and I want to set the record straight. And please, guys, understand that my objective isn't to tear anyone down. I want everyone to understand that this was an opportunity that we missed, and I want us to learn from it and grow from it, so that if something like this comes again, we won't let our feelings get in the way of what's best for our city. So in a matter of a couple of weeks, a few individuals took it upon themselves to work behind the scenes to give the city something new and exciting, an opportunity that would have benefited our citizens for years and attracted other people from outside the area to come to enjoy Vienna. Now, here are the facts. The work would have in no way, shape, or form affected the FLAP grant. The Army Corps of Engineers approved and issued the permit for this site. The work was to be performed above the high water mark, meaning no mussel study was needed. The kayak launch was going to be temporary for this season only, as the floating dock was on loan. The slope would have been mowable for the city workers. It currently takes 3 workers 4 hours to weed eat all of it. It would have taken 1 worker a half hour to mow it. The only cost to the city would have been 10 yards of concrete, or roughly $2,000. The slope would have been less steep than the Parkersburg kayak launch, which is approximately 20% grade overall, and it would have been only slightly more steep than the sidewalk to the bench by the airplane in Jackson Park, which is about 16.7% grade. The work would have saved the city thousands of dollars down the road when developing this property. And the sloped bank would have been a great place for fishing and for families wanting to get together. And with all these positives, however, it seemed the only thing we were able to focus on was the fact that it was not the ADA required 8.3% grade. But it was only temporary, and we didn't even give it a chance. We let our feelings get in the way of making a decision that was best for the city, something that our city could have really enjoyed. And regardless if the kayak launch was only going to be there for a few months, that mowed slope going down to the river would have been beautiful. It would have been peaceful. But that opportunity, as quickly as it came, is gone. And we didn't even give it a chance. But my fear is that this will happen again. Or even worse, people will be less open to bringing good ideas to the table for fear of being chastised unjustly. We want to be encouraging. If we would have thought this through, we would have seen all the benefits. I still struggle to understand how it was met with such criticism, but it's time to move on. Move forward. Admit our mistakes, swallow our pride, and be better. Be better for the city. We don't have to constantly tear each other down to get ahead. And if we focus on working together, building each other up, we will be better off. I don't want to discourage anybody, whether publicly or privately. I want everyone to bring their ideas. Let's talk about them. If they're good, let's figure out a way to implement them. If they're not good, let's work together to make them better. This divisive mentality is so destructive. Let's put our personal selfish ambitions away and focus on making this place a little better. Thank you.
Alice Goodwin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alice Goodwin. I also am a candidate. I'm running for Recorder of Vienna. I only have two things I'd like to talk about tonight. One of them is on the City of Vienna's website where it lists the boards and commissions. I've gone through there, and not all the boards or commissions are listed on there that you can fill out an application for if you're interested in being on there. Another of the things and stuff that I saw was that some of the ones that are listed on there do not have names of the members, their titles, or contact information. I noticed that there are some boards that the members are appointed by the mayor and the council. And I think that these should also be listed on there with the current members, their titles, and their contact information. Also noted, it should be the process in which you want to be considered for one of these, whether it's fill out this application with your qualifications and everything else, or if it's an appointment by the mayor and the council. Also on the agenda center page, not all the boards and commissions have updated their approved minutes. With the Building Commission and the Parks and Recreation Board, just to name a few. Some of them, the Building Commission doesn't have any of their approved minutes listed, just their agendas. The Parks and Recreation Board are missing some for quite some years. But I think having that information and stuff available to the residents so that we can go out there and look, just see what's going on, because not all of us are going to watch the streaming of them if they're there. And at least if the minutes are approved, we know that, okay, this is the action that they took, and we can move on. So I think that would be great information and access and stuff to it, so we know who to contact if we have questions. The other thing I have is that I believe today was the last day for any possible candidates to apply for the unexpired term for Mr. Azinger's seat. Is that correct? Okay. I know a few weeks ago, Mayor Rapp had made a statement that he was going to recommend Chuck Knopfsinger for that position. And not having seen the list of candidates that have applied, I'm just making the assumption that Mr. Knopfsinger did apply. But if he were to be nominated for that, according to a resolution that was passed in August of 23, where Cameron Conley, Chuck Knopfsinger, and Rod Smith were appointed to the Building Commission. And as part of the codified ordinance and the resolution that was passed, none of those people can hold a public or elected office. Okay, so if I understood what I was reading, that if Mr. Knopfsinger did apply and he was nominated to accept Mr. Azinger's empty seat, he would have to resign his position on the Building Commission. And my question was, would he have to resign before those interviews take place next week, or after, if he was nominated and selected, would he have to resign then? And would the Building Commission or the council also appoint other people to replace Mr. Knopfsinger if that's the case? And I believe Ms. Conley's term is coming up, since she was only nominated for a year term. I'm assuming her term would either end the end of this month or sometime in September, especially since the Building Commission was dormant for so long and just came back into, I'm going to say, livelihood within the last year or so. So that's all I have there. Thank you.
Mr. Skogstad, she brings up an interesting point. I'd like you to research that.
Sure.
And I'd like the answer before next Tuesday, excuse me. And since you brought it up, Alice, if you would tell them the schedule.
Yeah, so I'll be posting the agenda tomorrow for the special meeting. We'll hold a special meeting on Tuesday. That'll be the interviews that we hold for the vacant position.
The window closed today at 4 o'clock. And so there were 4 people that signed up to run for that council seat. And it's interesting because the newspaper called and wanted to know about the procedure. And the lady at the newspaper asked me, and it's not you, but asked if there was anyone that would be a front runner. And I said, yes, Mr. Nossinger has already expressed an interest in that. And so that's how Chuck's name got put out there. But at any rate, if you would you can tell who the 4 are. We'll interview them next Tuesday.
Okay. Yes, so Barbara Joyce, Corrine Full, and Kim Couch,
All right? Okay,
along with Chuck Knopfsinger.
right. And that will be at 6 o'clock next Tuesday. All right? My last comment before we move on is Tammy Rhodes, who spoke this evening, is also a candidate for council. And so I recognize the other speakers that were council or recorder positions, and Tammy did as well. All right?
Can I comment on that?
No, ma'am, you may not.
Well, we
No, you
do
may
have
not.
6 here.
Okay? I recognize the speakers. Okay? All right, so the minutes from the regular council meeting on August the 8th, 2024 have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no objections, then the minutes will stand approved as posted. We have no unfinished business this evening. We'll move right into our agenda. The first item this evening is a proclamation for National Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. Whereas more than 43 million Americans can't read or write at the most basic level, while 62.7 million lack basic math skills, as well as the credentials and skills necessary to succeed in post-secondary education. And whereas every year, 1 in 3 young adults drops out of high school. And whereas American Action Forum estimates that America is short an estimated 7.5 million private sector workers all across all skill levels. And whereas adult education programs contribute to solving these challenges by helping Americans move along the continuum in their educational journey to achieve basic skills and get prepared for career and college. And whereas adult education programs in high schools and adult schools, community colleges, and community centers offer low-cost, high-value programs that upgrade the skill set of our citizens. And whereas Vienna, West Virginia celebrates Adult Education and Family Literacy Week as a proud participant in the National Educate and Elevate campaign, which helps our citizens learn about all of their adult education options to attain their professional and personal goals. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Randall C. Rapp, proclaim September the 16th through the 20th, 2024 as Adult Literacy Week in the city of Vienna, West Virginia, given under my hand and the executive seal of the city of Vienna this 22nd day of August, 2024. Next item on our agenda this evening is a bid approval for the purchase of any make pursuit-rated police interceptor utility all-wheel drive vehicles. Councilman Leach, please.
Sealed bids for the purchase of any make pursuit-rated police interceptor utility all-wheel drive vehicles were opened on August 6, 2024 at 10 a.m. with the following results. Stevens Auto, 2 Dodge Durangos, total bid $92,330, individual bid $46,165. Funding for the project is pending financing. The payments in account number 45559. This approval is being done to expedite the process and maximize our chances of getting these vehicles. If approved, the department head will be able to notify the vendor and be placed on the list for purchasing.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the bid from Stevens Automotive in the amount of $92,330 for 2 Dodge Durangos.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the bid from Stevens Auto. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the bid from Stevens Automotive for 2 Dodge Durangos in the amount of $92,330, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Wow. Next item on our agenda is the bid approval for asphalt seal coating and road striping. Councilman Leach.
Sealed bids for the cost of asphalt, seal coating, and road striping were opened on July 31st, 2024 at 9 a.m. with the following results. Bidder Brown Asphalt, $33,249. After careful review, the bid proposals, a recommendation for council approval for the Budget and Finance Committee for asphalt, seal coating, and road striping for the 2024-2025 budget year is Brown Asphalt, in the amount of $33,249. Funding for this project is from the city's general fund, account 570-5541, but may be utilized by other departments.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the Brown Asphalt estimate in the amount of $33,249 for asphalt seal coating and road striping.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the bid from Brown Asphalt. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the bid approval from Brown Asphalt in the amount of $33,249, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. That concludes our agenda for this evening. We move on to council comments.
I think Mr. Rhodes brought up something kind of interesting tonight, so I was curious, are there,
I'm sorry, who did?
Ms. Rhodes?
I'm sorry.
Okay, no,
I
it's
didn't
fine.
know I thought you said Miss Bren. I think, I didn't hear that name.
I
Go.
never know what I'm talking about half the time anyway, so.
Go.
Anyway, do we have any updates from Thrasher? Because we are in that window when the deliverables, we're just about there, so. And I know the online survey hasn't gone out yet, so I'm curious about that.
So when I get the council comments, I will give you that update. There is an update.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right.
Tony, I want to commend you for the review of what happened with the kayak launch. I was disappointed by the way that went as well. And this is a cautionary tale for council. During that time, there were a comment with respect to those who input in that process and volunteered and kind of came away, a little bit sore. And this was not me, and it was, it was me too. But, and this was a local business volunteering services to the city of Vienna. And I think we need to be careful, about making comments that, disparage, those efforts by our community. So, Tony, thank you so much. I think that you obviously put some time in researching what happened and I think put a fair spin on it. So that's all I got.
I just wanted to correct one thing that Tony said. You said that there would be $2,000 for the concrete. That would not have been done. We were going to use precast concrete blocks. The weight of those things was more than heavy enough to hold the cables that would have anchored that. So that cost would not have been incurred as well. All right. So, but you were correct on everything else, Tony. All right. So, Ms. Williams asked the question about the Thrasher Group. I did sign the contract on Friday after the council approved it. To be honest with you, I don't believe that the check has been signed for them. I don't believe they've invoiced us for that yet, but I did sign the contract. It is in effect. The steering committee has been selected. I'm waiting on one lady to respond, and then it will be completed. As Mr. Mathers, Jack, you're welcome to answer this question if you care to. If not, I will do my best to answer it. You had a conversation with Thrasher requesting what the job duties would be on the steering committee, and they, told you, or you want me to answer that? I will. All right. So the steering committee for the Thrasher Group is to get together and determine the questions that the survey that will be sent out to everyone covers the wide range of people that are on the steering committee. The steering committee itself has no power. It is simply an advisory board to make sure that all of the various interests that are out there are presented to Thrasher so that when they schedule the public hearings, that they will be pointed in the right direction, but the steering committee itself is only going to initially put the survey together for Thrasher to use when they solicit the information from the community. Did I say that correctly?
That's pretty much it.
All right. So anyway, that's the role of the steering committee. There are 14 people on it as we speak. The 15th, the lady said she wanted to talk to her husband before she committed to it. She's a teacher, and so she's kind of concerned about what time commitment it would be. But at any rate, as soon as I hear from that, I have the list, Jack. I'll be glad to do it, or you can do it when you get all 15, whatever you care to. So the people that have been selected for the steering committee up to now are Jack Mathers, Craig Metz, Jim Leach, Lindsay Pearsall, Ed Ball, Carrie Rapp, Steve Sanner, Jamie Witkowski, Jeff Schlusser, Rick Modisett, Barry Burns, Vicki Squires, Casey Brookover, and Destiny Duncan. All right, so that's 14. I'm trying for an uneven number so that there will be 15 people that serve on that committee. So,
I have a question, Mayor.
yes, ma'am.
So you are saying there's a potential to add more people to this committee?
There's not one.
What?
That lady, if she,
Councilman Chris Mancuso would be great. We've asked for that over and over again, and I hear names, most of those names I recognize, but some of them I didn't, and I don't understand why, with all the talent that Mr. Mancuso has, he would be left off of that committee. Especially he's done all this work on Spencer's Landing, and if the purpose is to help determine what the questions are going to be for the survey, that's a missed opportunity not to include Mr. Mancuso, and I don't know why that would ever be such an oversight.
we have went through so many discussions at this council, and unfortunately, we seem to end up with a 5-2 vote almost every time that we get something out there. And I would really like to see the steering committee and the Spencer's Landing project be successful. It's something that we've looked forward to for a long time. And because of that, the people that were selected were the ones that I think bring various specialties to that steering committee. Mr. Steve Sanner retired from the railroad because there's railroad tracks that cross almost every one of the sections that was part of this study. I believe that Mr. Sanner brings to the table some expertise in the railroad and the way it works that I think he'll contribute to smooth out some of the issues that we may run into. There are other people there on that list. The original people that were part of the RFQ that selected Thrasher are there because they heard all of the background. They've heard the plan that Thrasher has used in other cities. And for me, I'm sorry, it's a group of people that I hope can work together. I hope there's lots of discussion and there's all kinds of different opinions expressed, so that we can get a wide spectrum of what's down there and the potential that can be developed, so that when it's presented to our citizens, that they will have an opportunity to vote and say, this is what I would like to see.
Well, I can't imagine anybody with any more experience than Chris Mancuso, but that's fine.
You have the poll numbers?
The poll numbers?
The update, do you want to give that update on, do you have the exact one? If you don't, that's fine, we can give the rough number.
I can give the rough numbers. You
Okay.
want to give the rough numbers? You give the rough
I'll
numbers.
probably give the same rough numbers you will. Okay, so on Monday, we got the report on how, what the attendance was for the pool this past season. So I'm not going to talk in budget years, I'm just going to talk in calendar years. So this was calendar year 24. I'm going to back up a little bit. So in 23, we were closed. In 22, we were closed. going to give you the three numbers before that. In 22, 21, 2019. Okay, in 19, we had roughly 3,000 and some, like 3,500. The next year in 20, it was about the same. The
This is
attendance.
yeah, not money. This
Yeah,
is
attendance for the pool. In 2020, it was 5,000 and some, okay? We were closed for 2 years, and this past summer, we had about 9,500 people visit the pool. That's awesome. So it was heavily used, and I mean, I know every time I was there, it was full. It was never like that before when we were going, and so just really, really thankful for all the work that I know the Parks Department guys. They were on it and attended to everything at the pool every single day. Did a great job making sure that we didn't have to close down for things not working properly, and it was well attended. And that's even saying, really we opened later than maybe we would have wanted to, and we were closed for 2 weeks for the slide installation, and we still had around 9,500 people come over the course of the summer. So thank you to all who came.
all right. Any other council comments this evening? All right, with that. Oh, one more. I'm sorry. I would like to see Chad and Tammy. No, not Tammy. I apologize. Kathy,
And
Henry. No, there's a fourth.
Alice.
Oh, yeah. Chad, Alice, Henry, and Kathy back in the conference room for a moment, please, if you have time. All right?